Steve Austin, astronaut, a man barely alive.
Steve Austin, astronaut, a man barely alive. Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. These famous lines introduced a television legend, Lee Majors, as the $6 Million Man. And beside him, in the golden glow of Hollywood spotlight, stood a woman with sun-kissed hair and a smile that seemed to warm every camera lens, Farrah Fawcett. They looked like the ultimate power couple, unstoppable, radiant, destined. But behind the red carpet smiles and magazine spreads was a love story torn apart by fame, betrayal, and a silence that would echo for decades. This is the untold story of Lee Majors and Farrah Fawcett, a Hollywood romance that began with electricity and ended in heartbreak so deep it never fully healed. Before their names were etched into pop culture history, Lee and Farrah were just two hopefuls chasing the dream. Lee Majors, born Harvey Lee Urey in Michigan and raised in Kentucky, had the rugged good looks and athletic strength that made casting directors take notice. After college football and a sports injury that pivoted his path, he scored his breakout role on The Big Valley, acting opposite Barbara Stanwyck. Audiences loved his calm demeanor and steady screen presence. Farrah Fawcett, by contrast, shimmered like summer sunlight. Raised in Texas, she won beauty contests while still in school, her golden hair and captivating smile becoming instant trademarks. She left home for Los Angeles, hugging her parents at the airport, promising to make them proud. Her look, classic yet fresh, lit up every photograph. The two met at a Hollywood Hills party in the late 1960s, a glittering affair nestled among the palm-lined streets and canyon views where deals were whispered over cocktails and futures were decided with a glance. Farrah had just arrived in Los Angeles and was already turning heads with her golden hair and sunlit smile. Lee, with his rugged charm and stoic presence, had recently wrapped up work on The Big Valley and was beginning to draw attention from serious casting directors. According to those at the party, the moment they locked eyes was something out of a screenplay. The room, filled with producers, agents, and rising stars, seemed to go quiet. Lee, ever the gentleman, approached her with a shy smile and asked if she wanted a drink. Farrah laughed and teased him gently about his bashful nature, immediately putting him at ease. That exchange, simple and sweet, would spark something much deeper. Over the next few weeks, they were inseparable. Late-night phone calls turned into long beach walks. Farrah would visit Lee on set, sneaking kisses between takes, while he learned to tolerate the chaos of fashion shoots just to be near her. Their personalities balanced each other perfectly. He was grounded, protective, and old-fashioned. She was bubbly, spontaneous, and full of youthful optimism. They weren't just dating, they were dreaming together. Friends recall how quickly their bond formed. "You could see it in their eyes," one mutual friend would later say. They looked at each other like they were already home. They moved in together in the early 70s, their house in Bel Air filled with Polaroids, love notes, and a rotating crowd of famous faces dropping by for dinner parties that often ended with Lee strumming a guitar and Farrah dancing barefoot. By the time they married in 1973, it felt less like a wedding and more like a coronation. Hollywood's golden couple had arrived. There were no warning signs, no visible cracks, just two people deeply in love, ready to take on the world together. Little did they know, the same fame that brought them together would one day become the very force that tore them apart. That same year, Lee Majors landed the role that would define him, Colonel Steve Austin. The $6 Million Man became a sensation. His face was suddenly everywhere, from lunchboxes to comic books to Halloween costumes. Farrah's modeling career also soared. She starred in shampoo commercials, graced magazine covers, and began landing television roles that showcased not just her looks, but her talent. The two looked unstoppable. In interviews, they praised one another. Farrah called Lee supportive and steady. Lee called her the love of his life. To the public, they were Hollywood royalty. But even fairy tales come with shadows. As their stars rose, so did the distance between them. Lee's filming schedule for The $6 Million Man was grueling, 6 days a week under blinding lights. Meanwhile, Farrah's calendar filled with auditions, photo shoots, and rising opportunities. Dinner plans were missed. Birthdays became phone calls. Quiet evenings turned into lonely nights. Lee clung to tradition. Raised with the belief that marriage meant forever, he tried to bridge the growing gap. cooking late dinners, leaving handwritten notes, and asking Farrah's team to adjust her schedule so they could share a simple meal together. According to insiders, she declined, not out of malice, but from a desire to be seen as independent. She didn't want to ride his coattails. She wanted to be her own force, and she was. In 1976, Charlie's Angels premiered, and Farrah became more than just a TV star. She became a cultural phenomenon. Her iconic red swimsuit poster sold over 12 million copies. She was everywhere: billboards, commercials, interviews, and fashion campaigns. Lee was proud but distant. His wife, once the girl who read scripts with him on the couch, was now building a multi-million-dollar brand. He felt like a spectator in their own marriage. What hurt most wasn't the fame itself. It was what it represented: new goals, new people, and less time for the love they'd once nurtured. Fame had lifted Farrah to a new world, but in doing so, it left Lee behind. By the end of the 1970s, Lee and Farrah were still technically married, still sharing a home, but the emotional distance between them had grown into an unbridgeable canyon. They had become strangers in the same space, two stars orbiting entirely different galaxies. Their once warm kitchen was now silent more often than not, and the affectionate notes Lee used to leave were replaced by appointment reminders and missed messages. Farrah was rarely home, her days consumed by endless press junkets, film shoots, and glamorous galas. Lee, meanwhile, found himself alone more and more, coming home to a house that once echoed with laughter and now felt colder than a soundstage after hours. Then, everything shattered. One morning, tabloids hit newsstands with full-color photographs of Farrah walking hand-in-hand with another man, Ryan O'Neal. Not just any man, but a fellow actor Lee had known for years. They had attended the same parties, shaken hands at industry events, and even shared mutual friends. To Lee, Ryan wasn't just another Hollywood name. He was someone he had once trusted, a peer he had welcomed into his inner circle. The press had a field day. "Hollywood's hottest new couple," screamed the headlines. Magazine covers were plastered with smiling shots of Farrah and Ryan at premieres, at the beach, at dinner. Late-night hosts joked about the love triangle. Fans devoured every detail, but for Lee, it was devastating. He didn't just lose his wife to another man. He lost her to someone he once considered a friend. Worse still, there was no warning. Friends close to Lee say he found out about the affair the same way the rest of the world did, over morning coffee, flipping through the entertainment section. There had been no explanation, no closure. Just glossy, unforgiving images that told him everything he needed to know. Speculation ran wild. Had the affair started while Lee and Farrah were still trying to salvage their marriage? Had Ryan been waiting in the wings all along? The timeline was murky, but what was crystal clear was Lee's pain. And in the face of it all, he did something rare in Hollywood. He didn't speak. No interviews, no angry quotes, just silence. But sometimes, silence is louder than any headline. Lee found out, like everyone else, through headlines and photos. No call, no explanation, just public humiliation. Some claim the affair had started before Farrah and Lee's marriage was even over. The truth remains blurry. But what's certain is how deeply Lee was hurt. Not just as a husband, but as a man who thought their story was sacred. Farrah never denied the romance. She and Ryan appeared at premieres, baseball games, even grocery stores, smiling, carefree, like their past had never existed. Lee never fired back. No interviews, no accusations, just silence. Instead of retaliating, he disappeared from her world and from the public's fascination with their breakup. When their divorce was finalized in 1982, 9 years after they said, "I do," Lee had already emotionally checked out. But the pain didn't vanish. Not really. Friends and colleagues began to notice something different in Lee, a subtle but unmistakable change. The confident glint that once danced in his eyes during interviews was gone, replaced by a guarded stillness. On screen, he was still the tough, unflinching hero. Off-screen, he became more withdrawn, careful with his words, hesitant to trust. Some said he threw himself into work as a form of escape. Others believed he was simply trying to outrun a heartbreak that kept finding new ways to haunt him. He landed The Fall Guy, another hit show that kept him on prime time and introduced him to a younger generation of fans. The role suited him, a stuntman turned bounty hunter who lived on the edge, took beatings, and always bounced back. But behind the scenes, the spark that once lit up Lee Majors had dimmed. He worked, he smiled, he signed autographs, but those closest to him whispered that the man inside had closed off something vital, something that had once made him feel deeply. Farrah, on the other hand, leaned into the chaos. She became a tabloid fixture, her name appearing almost weekly in headlines across newsstands. Her roller coaster relationship with Ryan O'Neal became one of Hollywood's most visible love sagas. They broke up, reconciled, argued in public, made grand romantic gestures, then unraveled again. It was messy, raw, and captivating, and every twist, every meltdown, was devoured by the public like a soap opera playing out in real time. While Farrah's life became a spectacle, on red carpets, in gossip columns, and in television interviews, Lee chose a different path. He retreated. He rarely spoke about her, and when her name came up, he responded with polite detachment before swiftly changing the subject. He refused to capitalize on their story. He didn't offer a tell-all. He didn't take swipes at Ryan. Instead, he disappeared from her narrative entirely. Farrah wore her heartbreak and hope for the world to see. Lee tucked his pain away in the quiet corners of his life, because some people process loss in front of millions, and some quietly carry it alone. In the years that followed, Lee Majors became almost ghost-like in Farrah's orbit. He skipped her award shows, avoided reunions, and dodged questions about her. He once admitted he never watched Charlie's Angels. It was too painful. And yet, he never spoke ill of her, never published a memoir, never sold his side of the story. That silence became its own statement. Farrah remained in the public eye, brave, bold, sometimes chaotic. Her career had highs and lows. Her relationship with Ryan zigzagged. She shared everything with her fans, her triumphs and her heartbreaks. Lee, he dated but never remarried, not for 2 decades. Friends said he carried a guardedness that hadn't existed before. Farrah had changed him in ways no one else could. Then, in the early 2000s, a quiet opportunity arose. A mutual friend approached both Lee and Farrah about reconnecting. Just a private lunch. No cameras. No headlines. Farrah was reportedly open to it. Her eyes welled up when she heard the idea. Lee considered it, but ultimately said no. Not from anger, from survival. He couldn't reopen the wound. The past, he said, felt like cement that had finally dried. To step back into it would shatter everything he'd rebuilt. Not long after, Farrah received devastating news: cancer. In 2006, Farrah Fawcett was diagnosed with a rare and aggressive cancer. But in true Farrah fashion, she faced it head-on. She filmed a raw, unfiltered video diary documenting her battle. It aired as a documentary and touched millions. Her red carpet glamour faded, replaced by vulnerability, honesty, and staggering strength. Viewers around the world wept as they watched her lose her hair, endure treatment, and fight for her life. And Lee, he remained silent. He didn't visit. He didn't issue statements. He didn't attend public fundraisers or charity events. But friends say he followed every update. He prayed for her. He watched from afar, because the goodbye he had given her had already happened years earlier. When Farrah passed away in June 2009, Lee released one brief statement. She fought a tremendous battle against a terrible disease. She was an angel on earth, and now she's an angel forever. It was respectful, beautiful, but distant. He didn't attend the funeral. Some called it cold. Others understood. Sometimes the deepest pain is the one that never shows. Lee Majors eventually found peace. In 2002, he married again, to someone far outside the spotlight of Hollywood. Their life was quieter, more grounded, and it seemed to bring him calm. Farrah left behind a complicated, powerful legacy. She fought hard to be taken seriously as an actress, earning acclaim for dramatic roles later in life. She became a symbol, not of perfection, but of perseverance. But the chapter between Lee and Farrah, that was never truly closed. There was no final conversation, no redemptive hug, no reconciliation for the cameras, only silence. To this day, friends say Lee keeps a small box tucked away in a drawer. Inside, a wedding photo, a cocktail napkin with her lipstick mark, and a faded note that says, "I believe in us." He never shows it to anyone, but he's never thrown it away, because some love stories don't get tidy endings. Some wounds never fully heal. And some silences say more than words ever could. Hollywood creates myths, and sometimes it breaks the people inside them. Lee Majors and Farrah Fawcett were golden in the spotlight. But behind the flashbulbs was a story of ambition, sacrifice, love, and heartbreak. They were once everything to each other. And though life moved on, a part of each remained suspended in the past, locked in the quiet corners of memory. Because the woman Lee Majors never forgave may also have been the one he never stopped loving. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Did you know the story ran this deep? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more powerful untold Hollywood stories, because sometimes the most gripping stories don't play out on screen.